See, my mule don't like people laughing.
What do you want me to do, draw you a picture?
Yeah.
And I don't have any feelings about it. I certainly don't have any. If the animal wants to,
Did Tom Hanks really compare working with Clint Eastwood to being treated like cattle? What happens when Hollywood's most efficient director forces A-list actors to nail scenes in just 1 or 2 takes? And why did Clint Eastwood once joke about shooting documentary filmmaker Michael Moore? These shocking revelations expose the raw, unfiltered reality behind one of cinema's greatest legends. At 95, Clint Eastwood isn't just a Hollywood icon. He's a living testament to decades of filmmaking, carrying stories that most will never hear. Behind the legendary roles and Academy Awards lies a side of Hollywood few ever witness: the rivalries, the creative clashes, and the actors who couldn't stand his demanding methods. According to the document, Eastwood has clashed with some of the biggest names in the business, creating tensions that simmered both on set and off. These aren't just tales of professional disagreements, they're stories of jealousy, rivalry, and Hollywood at its rawest, revealing how Eastwood's uncompromising vision shaped not only his career, but the very sets he commanded. Tom Hanks, a man who had worked with countless great directors, found stepping onto a Clint Eastwood set to be a completely different experience. When these two legends joined forces for Sully in 2016, it seemed like the perfect collaboration. The document reveals that Eastwood's steady hand would guide Hanks through the true story of Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, the pilot who miraculously landed a failing plane on the Hudson River, saving over 100 lives. Yet behind that calm, heroic tale was a quiet tension born from Clint's famously unyielding style. For Tom, working with Clint was both an honor and a test of nerves. According to the source material, Eastwood was efficient to the core, rarely shooting more than a few takes and preferring action over discussion. Hanks later admitted the experience could be intimidating, even joking that Clint treated his actors like cattle, a remark that carried more truth than humor. Clint, who rose to fame playing lone cowboys, saw himself as a wrangler of performances. He didn't explain, he observed. When something didn't meet his standard, he'd give a single disapproving look, sharp enough to make even a seasoned actor like Hanks anxious. But here's something that might surprise you. How does an actor survive under such intense pressure? Tom said he quickly learned to read Clint's moods, adjusting his performance before the director needed to say a word. The document notes that the silence spoke volumes, and the pressure was amplified by the presence of the real Captain Sullenberger, who served as an advisor throughout filming. Sully was deeply involved, determined that the movie stayed true to every detail of that terrifying day. However, Clint valued emotion over precision, and the two reportedly clashed over how certain scenes should be portrayed. Adding another layer to this story, the document reveals that Clint had survived his own plane crash decades earlier, an experience that gave him a personal understanding of fear and survival. Yet he'd never carried the burden of being hailed a hero as Sullenberger had. Perhaps that's why he approached Sully with both reverence and restraint, determined to capture not spectacle, but humanity. Despite the quiet tension and Clint's minimalist approach, Sully soared, with critics praising the film's emotional depth and Hanks's dignified, understated performance. Matt Damon faced his own unique challenge when working with Eastwood on Invictus in 2009. The film told the inspiring true story of South Africa's 1995 Rugby World Cup victory, a moment that united a divided nation. According to the document, Damon stepped into the role of Francois Pienaar, the South African rugby captain, opposite Morgan Freeman's powerful portrayal of Nelson Mandela. But Damon faced a quiet battle behind the camera, mastering the thick, precise South African accent. The source reveals that Damon practiced for weeks, struggling to perfect each syllable. Yet when filming began, there was little time to polish or adjust. Clint's rule was simple: capture the moment, move on. 1 or 2 takes, rarely more. Damon admitted later that the process left him uneasy. He wasn't entirely convinced his accent or performance had settled into place when Eastwood called cut for the final time. But Clint didn't believe in overthinking. He believed in honesty, in the tremor of an unguarded performance. In the end, that trust paid off. The document confirms that Damon's portrayal was subtle and sincere, earning him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Looking back, he described Clint with both admiration and awe, a director who could pull emotion out of simplicity, who saw beauty in imperfection. Still, Damon confessed that when he directs, he prefers a slower pace, allowing for more takes and exploration, a gentle rebellion against the Eastwood method. Even Scott Eastwood, Clint's own son, wasn't spared from his father's demanding methods. According to the source material, working under Clint Eastwood is no easy task, especially if you share his last name. For Scott, stepping onto his father's set was both a privilege and a trial by fire. Clint wasn't the nurturing kind. He treated his son like any other actor, sometimes harsher. On the sets of Gran Torino and Trouble with the Curve, Scott endured his father's no-nonsense pace and icy silences. The document reveals that mistakes weren't tolerated and approval came only through results. Clint's perfectionism often clashed with Scott's youthful eagerness, sparking quiet tension between them. But beneath the frustration, Scott knew every grueling day was a lesson. He learned the power of discipline, precision, and humility, the very traits that shaped Clint's legendary career. Though he later chose to work with other directors, starring in films like Guy Ritchie's Wrath of Man, Scott admits that those difficult experiences with his father built the foundation of his success. Perhaps the most explosive conflict came with Michael Moore. The document states that Tom Hanks wasn't the only one unsettled by Clint Eastwood's worldview. Over the years, Clint's blunt political opinions have often divided audiences and colleagues alike. Never one to hide behind diplomacy, he's spoken openly about his disdain for what he calls the age of political correctness. One of the most infamous moments came during a speech when he jokingly threatened to shoot documentary filmmaker Michael Moore after the two publicly clashed over politics. The remark was meant in jest, but it became a symbol of how polarizing Clint's presence could be. At 95, Clint Eastwood is still active in the film world. According to the document, although many assumed he might retire after his 2024 movie, Juror Number 2, Eastwood has made it clear he has no plans to step away from filmmaking. His most recent film, Juror Number 2, was a legal thriller starring Nicholas Hoult and Toni Collette. It premiered at AFI Fest in October 2024 and was later released in theaters and on streaming platforms. The source confirms that Eastwood remains focused on creating meaningful projects rather than chasing popularity or trends. Even now, he reflects on his long career and filmmaking style, emphasizing that he still has stories to tell and lessons to share. His dedication and passion for film continue to inspire both fans and aspiring filmmakers around the world, proving that true artistry knows no age limit.